Let's talk about GMO this morning on Business AM, the tail end of the conversation this morning. Business AM is packed. That's what Stephanie Wanswa tells me this morning. She's actually said, I'm not coming back on screen to tell you exactly what the guys are talking about on social media, but guess what? We are right there with you. The conversation shall continue there. Let's therefore talk about who we have on the set this morning. This morning, we are privileged to have Dr. David Amudavi. If you want to know who he is, the Executive Director, BioVision Africa Trusts, and the co-organizer of the upcoming agroecology conference. And we do have Sylvia Korea. She's a farmer, and she's also from Sylvia Organic Basket, which said, so if you want to understand anything about GMO, whether we stand about it, what we understand about it, who better to talk to other than these two guests on the set this morning. Guys, I am very privileged to have you today on Business AM. So, Dr. David, sure. I just want us to get straight into it, all right, before we talk about what you're going to do at the agroecology conference coming up, and we shall be there, also listening. So, why not GMO?
Thank you, Simpa. It's a pleasure to come to this station.
Yes.
To talk about GMO and why we are against it, and more so to talk about the upcoming important conference.
Yes.
That demonstrates the direction in which our agriculture should take, as well as our food systems. Now, genetically modified organisms, as my friend Wanjiru will say, just to correct, Sylvia was to come this morning.
Sylvia was come this
but
morning.
Instead, Wanjiru,
all right.
an expert in issues of GMOs, and I will actually want to invite her shortly to talk more about this. The issue of GMO is a very pertinent issue for us in terms of research and getting technologies to improve our agriculture and food security.
Yes.
However, one big question that we ask ourselves, why go GMO when we have not optimally utilized the technologies our own researchers through very conventional and proper systems have put in place?
Yes.
Our previous Kenya Agricultural Research Institute and currently Kenya Agricultural Research Livestock Organization, it has done tremendous work using conventional breeding systems, coming up with high yielding technologies, both in the crop sector as well as livestock sector. Most of those technologies today are still on the shelves. We have very low adoption rates of those technologies. If you go to some of the exhibitions, even the normal national agricultural shows, you will see very high yielding crops on display. The beautiful work that has been done from our research. The question is, why the claim for GMOs that we are very not sure about the effects in the long run, forgetting about the technologies that are very much close to us, by our own scientists, supported by also international scientists. We have so much of this, not yet put into use. So for us in BioVision Africa Trust and other partners who are supporting farmers in this country, and as much as possible in the rest of the African continent, we are saying the technologies that have already been developed within the agriculture and the food systems, they need to be disseminated to the farmers, put them into use. But we also know the potential of those technologies can be realized if other support services are also in place.
Yes.
Very rigorous extension services, advisory services for the farmers. We need to have them. Credit support services need to be given to the farmers. Timely monitoring of how the farmers are responding in the use of these technologies is very important. Now, I would want to say this without any fear of contradiction. So much is already in place, but so very little is in application.
It's actually been put into application.
Then the question is, why put more money, more time, more resources into trying genetically modified organisms research when already what we have is not being put into use?
Yes.
Is that the best use of resources? Do we get the value for money of investments if we go into trying technologies that also have consequences?
Yes.
Research has demonstrated this. The potential for negative effects on human and animal health are there, but the very proper technologies that have been developed. Our good government spends a lot of money on research in crops, in livestock, and in the environment.
Yes.
And we have plenty of the technologies.
I want to, just for the sake of time, Doctor, and I know that we're going to have you back after the agroeconomic conference, the agroecology conference that you're organizing, so we can talk deeper into these issues. I want to bring in Wanjiru shortly now, just because you're an organic farmer and you know these areas, therefore, when somebody tells you GMO versus what you're doing right now, why would you never stand for GMO?
All right, thank you. And my name, probably to introduce myself, is Wanjiru Kamau.
Yes.
I've worked in the organic sector for many years, and we've worked with organic farmers. So we understand their issues. One of the things that farmers are passionate about, they want to raise healthy food. Because there's a big issue around food safety.
Yes.
Even just growing conventional food, there are issues around how was it grown, did we use the proper water, or people have grown in around sewage, have we used the right amount of agrochemicals? So these are concerns that many farmers have, and that is why there's a good body of farmers who really do want to grow food that is healthy, that they can eat, their children can eat, and they can also sell any excess food.
Yes.
Perhaps maybe to just bring on board our listeners, genetically modified food is food that has the genes, it's a form of biotechnology, and the genes have been tampered with so that it is different from a genetic position than normal crops. For instance, if it's maize.
Yes.
In the case like in Kenya, we are promoting BT cotton and BT maize, and they have had genes from a bacteria inserted in maize or inserted in cotton and then been produced to have those genes inside, so that they become, and they have natural pesticides within the DNA of the maize. Now, to me, number one, this is against nature, because like crosses with like, if you look at biology the way you and I were taught biology, why are we inserting genes from a bacteria in maize? There is something not totally, ethically, there's something not right there.
Yes.
And number two, we don't actually know the long-term impacts on our environment, on our health, and our soils of having this mixing of genes on our environment. I'll give you an example. We had that the Chinese were able to genetically modified twins, a researcher genetically modified human beings recently.
Yes.
And we've had that the reason they did this is because they wanted these children not to be able to get susceptible to HIV. But now research has come out to show that, in fact, because of that modification of their genes, they actually will live a shorter life. They may not make it to 20 years old in China. So we are tinkering with genes, and we don't actually know the long-term impact on our health, on food safety, which is not good. And like Dr. says, we have a lot of conventionally bred products that are safe, that are good, that have high yields. If you look at maize, which is our staple food, if it is produced under ideal conditions with the right extension service, you can produce up to 40 bags an acre.
Yes.
We are currently not even doing 20.
We're not doing
using
20,
conventionally bred seed. Why are we even bringing in GMOs?
Yes.
We should be working on our systems to make sure farmers can produce with conventional seed and get optimal production. And that's because farmers have a lot of challenges.
Yes.
So as an organic person, I would never touch GMO, and it's not even allowed in organic standards.
Yes.
It's prohibited
Right.
to use GM seed.
Now, Dr. Amudavi, I just want us to talk about this in just a minute's time, because we are actually beyond the time that we're supposed to have this show, and I promised you we're coming back to talk about this after your conference. So what are some of the focus points for your conference this year that we should look to so much, especially as relates to this GMO?
Thank you very much, Simba. The upcoming conference, which is going to be held at Safari Park from tomorrow up to Thursday, ending up with a field visit, it is focusing on 3 key areas. The first major area is on how to reduce synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. We have key speakers and several paper presentations that will be showing the effects of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers contamination on our continent. and what effects such have had on animal and human health, as well as environmental health as well.
Yes.
And it will also show some of the presentations of successful cases in terms of technologies, in terms of systems that have shown how we can reduce that. So that's a very important major area of the conference.
Yes.
The second major area is in the area of how to scale up farming practices that are based on agroecology. And with this, we'll be looking at the FAO Agroecology Scaling Up Initiative, which is an initiative that has been looked at by almost 170 countries globally. FAO, as you know, is the mother organization for food and agriculture globally.
Yes.
And supported by other UN partners, they have actually developed the Agroecology Scaling Up Initiative, and it's now being rolled practically at country level in different countries.
Yes.
And East Africa is going to have the first conference to look at how do we scale up, what kind of strategies do we need to put in place to scale up agroecology.
Yes.
And finally, there's going to be a focus to show what opportunities and potentials do we have in organic trade, also coined to consumption of organic products.
Yes.
As my sister Wanjiru says, we need to eat safe and nutritious foods. And how do we link this to consumption and trade? So the conference will actually give an opportunity for those who are involved in the organic sector,
Yes.
both at the domestic and global level, showing actually how farmers can make money and at the same time produce food that is safe for all of us.
For all of
So
us,
this
isn't it?
conference is actually going to give all practical cases. It will bring together scientists, it will bring together educationists, the academia, and farmers as well, and those in the industry.
Yes.
And I really want to invite all of you
Yes.
to come and see what the potential is in the sector of organic agriculture,
Oh, organic
and
agriculture,
particularly
isn't it?
premised on
Yes.
agroecology, which is very conscious about the environment, on how best to use our natural resources,
Yes.
not only for our current generations, but we also have to be mindful of the future generations
All right.
as well.
Thank you, Dr. Amudavi, and it's a promise. We'll have more time after the conference, therefore, to go through some of these issues from a standpoint where we've already seen them. All right. Wanjiru, just to clear, just in 30 seconds, therefore, 30 seconds really.
Okay.
What would you tell a farmer who's really thinking about going GMO right now? Because that's what the government is pushing for.
Yeah, I would emphatically say no, this is not the way to go.
Yes.
Whether it's maize, because maize and cotton will be the first crops that they're looking at introducing as GM. We have enough research, we have enough material to grow food organically.
Yes.
And we must also think about, we are living this world for our children, our children's children.
Yes.
What kind of world are you, what kind of world are you living? And therefore, grow organic food, and where you cannot, at least do conventional production with very little pesticides or none at all, because we have a responsibility to leave a healthy Kenya for future generations.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very much for coming to Metropole Television. It's a promise, Dr. Amudavi. We will be there, and after that, we shall join you now again here to talk about some of the key areas of your conference.
Look forward towards that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, Business AM, and right here, right now, the conversation goes online. Richie, you can take me off screen right at this minute.